What's good? What's good? What is good, everybody? Okay, so today what we're gonna do is our Q&A session. Got a couple projects we're trying to finish up, so won't be able to get into as many questions as I wanted to, but I got my go-go juice, so I'm good. Crack this mug open right now. Much necessary, believe me. Been a long day. No, I did it right in here. Sorry about that. But it's been a long day. In a good way, productive. We always want productive. But I'm doing a new video for a couple things. Man, I'm making 4 videos. So I'm making a new video for one of my Fiverr. Oh, there goes the phone. There goes the phone, as always. It never fails. You know what's really funny? And y'all know I'm a Droid guy, so if y'all are like, oh my god, he's a Droid guy. Oh, dude. For those who don't know, I'm a Droid dude. But don't you hate that when it never fails? You can go an hour, 2, 3, maybe even 5 hours, maybe text messages, notifications, emails, all that good stuff, but no one calls you until you either have another important meeting, you're about to go live, like right now, which this is a meeting. I put this as a meeting. This is a meeting for me. But anyway, don't want to distract. There's a couple articles I wanted to review that we didn't put in the newsletter this past week. Didn't do the newsletter this past week. This past week, because the newsletter, there was a couple updates that came up, and I actually had the opportunity to be a voice actor, to be a narrator for an English translation of a book of an author that I know. And he asked me, he's like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? Heard my voice, it's like the podcast voice. This is my podcast voice. So it's like, why not? So in collecting the emails, which gets to a future project, I'm going to come to that at some point. We get to a future project. But the point is, I was like, you know what? This is what we need to do. A couple of articles I was going to go over in the newsletter. Boom, we could do that in the live set today. Also, answer some questions, knock them out of the way. And then, of course, do some work, as I always do. As I mentioned, 4 videos. 1 video is a new gig video for my Fiverr gig. Number 2 videos, I should say, because I said 4 in total. 2 videos are actual episodes of the podcast coming up. And the 3rd video is a promotional video that I'm working on for a videographer. Very good videographer. Good. He's good at doing his own editing. But I said I wanted to come up with a cool sizzle reel for him. But I'm not trying to take up all that time because we got stuff to do. Let's get to questions. As always, the questions are coming from our core spaces. If we didn't get any over Reddit, if we didn't get any submitted, but I'm trying to clean up those core spaces just because you guys have been so kind. I mean, for years. For those who don't know, I use core spaces. I used to answer questions on I want to say daily basis. And I was like, well, I got all these sitting here. There's a ton of them sitting here still. So I want to get to them, but I also want to make sure that if you guys have that kind of a question, then if you do want to post one there, maybe you're used to using core spaces, you can do so. Let me adjust my shoot, man. This is the one thing about doing lives. Stuff like that happens. So get a sip of the juice. If you notice, I look real hard to my right because I don't want to knock it down. Let's see here. And if you want to submit them, we want you to submit them. And the thing about it is, it was a process. Take the question, answer the question, put it on Reddit, answer them here. And we're not just going to do this. This is not just for the Patreon. The live Q&A is for Patreon. You guys over here on YouTube, you're getting this. And, let's get to it. Because I want to get to the video editing. But the articles that were not going in the newsletter, I want to bring those up. All right. What are some alternative options to Google AdSense for a new website? What are some alternative options to Google AdSense? Okay. So, how should we say this? Because there's a ton of them. First off, let's start this. Google AdSense is, of course, how native ads, how ads can be placed on your website from other publishers. So, for instance, let's say you have a website. I want to promote my digital marketing agency, or I want to promote my podcast. I can use Google AdSense to identify what are some of the best places for my advertisement can go. It could potentially go to your website, but let's just say it did go to your website, okay? And the idea is that you, as a website owner, as a webmaster, old school webmaster, you know what I'm saying? You can, of course, you can pick your niche. You can pick, you're a part of that network, but you can pick your niche. You can pick your. You can't necessarily always get down to the level of picking every individual advertiser. There are certain programs where you can do things like that, and we'll get into that in 1 second. That's the whole point. But with Google AdSense, it's more so, well, this advertisement fits your niche, fits your reach, fits your traffic. That's why you would need to be accepted into Google AdSense as a website that can have a website posted on them, and you will get enough traffic. Because at the end of the day, if no traffic, especially no clicks, no traffic is the first level, but no clicks at all, AdSense is gonna be like, listen, your website doesn't even get enough traffic to get traffic, let alone get the clicks. We're not even gonna worry about that. Here's the thing about it: there's alternatives, there's options, and this is what gets missed all the time when it comes to advertising, online advertising. Everyone thinks Google AdSense. And you know, I was going to write an article about this, and this is actually perfect timing. I wish I could see who wrote the question, but one of my personal favorites says it used to. Well, one of my favorites. I hate my personal favorites. One of my favorites is Taboola. Taboola. I don't know if you really put an emphasis on it. It's Taboola, and Taboola is fantastic. Why is it fantastic? It's a very easy to use system, but that's not the main reason. That's the reason I'm gonna call out, because a lot of times people have trouble with this. Like, this question could be very well, the person just doesn't, like which I can understand, doesn't like the dashboard, doesn't like the back end of AdSense. Oh, the back end. No, I'm joking. Here's the thing about Taboola, and I'm gonna pull it up. Taboola is by far one of the best when it comes to the network. So when I say the network, meaning the number of websites, the type of websites that it has for you to place an ad on. And I know that might sound a little crazy at first, but when you think about it, it's all about who is the best, or what is the best website for your ad to be placed. Taboola is one of those platforms. Okay, so as you can see, you can run a premium website. You can. It's a really easy navigation. It's a really easy dashboard, right? And connecting your ad to the right brand. And these are some of the big brands. Like, these are some of the big sites that you could post on. You could go on Yahoo. You could go on USA Today. You could potentially be in Business Insider, the Weather Channel, CBS. And if you notice, just calling us out. Okay, for those. This is why we family. This is why we work together. This is why we do what we do. This is why we connect. This is why you come here, right? Because I'm not gonna give you some sugar coated stuff. I'm unfortunately one of those people who likes to dig deep into all this kind of stuff, and find it all out. Notice it says CBS News. Notice it says the Weather Channel. Notice it says USA Today. Okay, back in my old day, a lot of these companies, well, actually, most of them still are owned by the same company. See, CBS News, you might have heard of CBS Radio back in the day. They still have a lot of radio stations. They still have a lot of newspapers. They still have a lot of publications. There's a reason why, if you're on one, or with this advertising platform at least, you would be in one publication's website. You might be on all those publications' websites. And that's my point of a network. CBS owns a lot of stuff. They own a lot of platforms. That is a great alternative to Google AdSense, Taboola. Here's the cool part about it, though. You could be on both. You can advertise Google AdSense, or you can have your website listed if you want. But you can advertise on Google AdSense, and you can advertise in Taboola. Okay? So you could be a advertiser with your advertisements going through both networks, or you could have a website attached to both networks. There was some years ago where there was one platform, and I forgot which one. I'm going to mention there's one of the platform, but they actually there was a I'm not sure if it was a clause. I'm not sure what it was exactly, but it was kind of stupid, where you couldn't be on AdSense at the same time. And now this was a website. This right. This is, in other words, the publisher. This is the advertiser. This is the publisher, and I think I mixed it up a little bit earlier. But this is the publisher. This is the website saying, "Hey, I want to put ads on that website, right? On my website." And they said you could be a part of Google AdSense and theirs. I'm not sure what the issue was, and that was years ago, because I had that same question about for myself at one point. It was kind of stupid. Outbrain is the other one. Now, Outbrain, I've never ran an ad on Outbrain. I will call that out now. I think it is Outbrain. Let me make sure. Outbrain. Yeah, it is Outbrain. They're still around. I've never ran one on Outbrain, so I can't give you too much insight into the dashboard, the breadth and the width of the network. But I will say that a lot of people turn to them. So with Outbrain, very similar to Taboola, I will say that, and very focused on, of course, which should be the ROI, but more importantly, kind of those alternative sites. So the sites that are not listed on Google AdSense, because you got to keep in mind, if they all have the exact same sites, and it's kind of like, then what's the real difference? You know, maybe one's going to charge a little bit more for cost per click or whatever, but the cool part about Outbrain, from what I've seen, at least, is that they'll be on websites that the last one you thought of. I'm being honest. Like, if you really want to niche down, I think this might be the best one between the three, honestly, because Google AdSense has just so many websites, which you might say, hey, that's great, but then again, it's like, is that really a niche down? And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Like with Outbrain, they've had everything from dating sites, which, don't get me wrong, Google AdSense has as well. I got one for you. I got a good one for you. Tinder. Did you know Tinder is part of the Meta? I'm about to say Net. It's part of the Meta advertising network. So if you run ads through Google AdSense, if I'm not mistaken, I'm sorry, not Google AdSense. So sorry, Google Ads. If I'm not mistaken, they won't show up on Tinder. But if you run ads on Meta or the Meta advertising platform, there's a good chance it might show up on Tinder, depending upon the niche and depending upon the reach and payment and all that kind of stuff. It's actually kind of cool. This is the stuff I think about. Yeah. This is kind of stuff I need to research. And of course, it's a very noisy day in Chicago, as always. So, but Outbrain is another one. I honestly, because there's another platform, I'm not even going to recommend them. I know you asked about different platforms, but I would say Taboola. If you're not finding your luck, or you're not finding the success in Google AdSense, then I would go with Taboola. I'm telling you, man, one of the worst things that it's going to hurt you as a business owner. If you find a platform so tough, so difficult, so challenging to use, you're like, I just hate going to that dashboard. I hate working this. That's a good way for them to take your money, because you don't even pay attention to what's going on when it's glitching. I actually, that's how I got my first, that was my first Facebook ad client. Now, I have ran a few Facebook ads, and I couldn't stand, I still can't, stand that dashboard, right? And how to run ads. And I forgot what forum the guy was on, but he was barking up a storm about it. I was like, yeah, this is what you gotta do. You gotta fix it. He's like, can you do it? I was like, well, yeah, I run my own ads. He's like, but I'll pay you to do it and everything. And I was like, okay, I guess I will. And then after him, 2 more clients, I decided to start offering that through Fiverr. Was the first place I really offered that service out. So it's like, Outbrain, I can't really speak to that dashboard. I can't speak to that back end. I can speak more so to Taboola, but I can also, more importantly, speak to the ad network that you get. So you get a ton of great advertisers, because, once again, you're going to be in the leagues with the CBS News, with the Weather Channel. Weather Channel is still one of the best, one of the most followed websites in the world. It's the Weather Channel, you know, and the fact that you're part of that network says a little bit, says quite a bit about your site. So I would definitely suggest looking into Taboola for sure. And once again, you can test them out. Run, keep your website listed with Google AdSense, but also check out Taboola. Okay. If someone wants to start an online store or create a new website, what is the hardest part for getting real organic traffic? Okay, so let's see here. What is the hardest part about getting real organic traffic? What's the hardest part? The hardest part really with getting organic traffic might sound kind of dumb. The hardest part about getting organic traffic is not necessarily, and I know, like I said, it might sound kind of dumb, not necessarily getting the traffic. It's getting the right traffic, right? If I have a website and I go tell 100 people, not even thinking about if they're customers or not, potential customers or leads, or just tell 100 people. At the very least, I'm going to get 10 people to visit the website. Not necessarily buy something, not necessarily become my best client, not become a lead, visit the website. But are you getting customers and leads? The toughest part is getting people who actually find value in what you do. So here, I would suggest, number one, it starts off with this. Does anybody need what you do? That's the first way you're going to determine if you're going to get a lot of traffic or not. Are you answering questions? Best part about that, the way I put it, and I put it that way specifically because that's where everything is going. Answer systems with AI. Excuse me. That's what happens when you have a dang old rain. It's a great drink. Perfect time. It was after I worked out. And that's probably why I'm so amped, is because I worked out a little bit, and I was like, okay, I got the live coming up. Got to answer some questions. I don't want to be like, I'm gonna answer a question. So it's like, what's to do? Get a rain. I'm good. Not my favorite flavor of them all, but it'll do. Which actually goes to my point about value. So the product is specifically what I'm looking for at that moment. That's value, right? It's going to give me the value I'm looking for. It provides me the value. I have the value, not the product. I have the value. Because the product can say, well, we can give all the energy and caffeine, but I didn't buy a Red Bull, I didn't buy a Monster, I didn't buy a Rockstar, Ripid, whatever, got that one, right? Now, what separates this specific product? What's its unique offering? What's its brand? Not just brand positioning, right? But unique offering. Does it have additional artificial sugars, aspartame, things like that? Doesn't have high fructose corn syrup. Okay. It doesn't, from my experience, doesn't have a crash. Right? It's not like I'm right? Like will happen to me for sure if I have a Red Bull. I don't know what it is about Red Bull. Red Bull, I will be awake, and then I will just want to knock out. And the worst thing is it's very sweet. So once again, not happening here. So value, right? But now I have product value. It's positioned itself as a workout drink. Red Bull workout drink, you're more like working off the Red Bull, right? So, or you're going to need to work off the Red Bull if you have the Red Bull afterwards. So, that unique offering provides that value. Now, why do I keep going back to that? When I looked up the product, what separates this product from others, that was one of the things I was looking for. Aspartame free, no additional sugars, no additional alcohols, or sugar alcohol, sorry. Best for after a workout. answering questions that they did on their website, answering questions that they did in their Instagram. Actually, it was their, to be fair, it was their Amazon listing that I really learned most of that about. And then I went to their website, and then I went to their Instagram. Answer questions, present value. That is the best way to get targeted organic traffic, because that's the challenge. Getting organic traffic is not a problem. Like I said, you could tell a bunch of people about the website. You could tell your mama. You could tell your parents. You could tell everybody. You could pass out a bunch of flyers, cards. You're gonna get traffic, but that doesn't mean they give a damn and they're gonna actually purchase anything that you have. They're not gonna purchase anything you got because they don't care. They don't need it. You want people who actually need that product. That's why you want to take something like that. What questions can I answer? Okay, if I have a person who enjoys working out, they're probably going to have this drink after they work out. Here's a better one. They may have this drink before they work out. Now, you notice the little joke I made about Red Bull? And I'm not knocking, anybody. But if you are a fitness enthusiast, if you're a person who cares about the amount of sugar, anything you put in your body, but especially in this case, sugar, you're probably going to think twice about drinking a Red Bull before a workout, because you're like, it's a lot of sugar. Okay, sugar-free Red Bull. We all know sugar-free Red Bull sucks. Let's just be real. It's disgusting. Almost everything sugar-free is disgusting, right? So what can I have before workout that won't make me feel guilty about having this to where I need to know, well, now I feel like I got to do an extra 30 minutes of working out to work it off. Something like this. That's designed specifically for, or more so designed for, have it before you work out, or just to give you a more healthy alternative to a energy supplement, if you will. So something like that. You want to focus on, how can I get targeted traffic? That's the challenge. That is always going to be the challenge, and it's a shame because we think it's so much on. I don't remember website speed, all those things are always going to come into play. But man, targeted traffic, that's what you need to focus on. Targeted traffic. It makes sense that you want as much traffic on Earth, because then you want to it's a numbers game at that point. But if I get 100,000 people visit my website in one sale, sounds like a bunch of wasted traffic and time. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It sounds like a waste of space. It sounds like a bunch of noise, not actual. I would call that more of like a traffic jam, if you will. All right, let's get here. Let's see, because we only got a few we can do, and then we got to get to some work, and I want to hit those articles. All right, how can small web developers effectively compete with large companies? And so basically, a small web company, how can you effectively compete, right? I know this might sound. Well, I am damn near Optimus Prime, right? Because I'm an optimist. Not as easy as it was before. But I'll reframe this. It's similar to how easy it is for small businesses to brand themselves. What most people don't understand about being a small business owner and entrepreneur, it's actually really easy to brand yourself. Not a logo, not a catchphrase, not a restricted trademark, not a copyright. I'm talking about brand yourself. And this is actually the error that most small business owners and entrepreneurs make by not effectively branding themselves. Okay? It's the same way it works for web development or small web developers, small web design companies. It's really easy for you. When I say easy, I'm going to bring why I'm saying, or what's easier than others. Because you're not supposed to compete with the big guys. I would challenge anyone. This is actually a big one. What are the three, and this is for you to ask this question. What are the three largest web development companies in the world? I'll say it again. The three largest by the amount of projects that they do and the type of contracts that they get. The three largest web development companies in the world. Now, I'm going to throw you a monkey wrench here, or I'm kind of guess in a monkey wrench. One of them isn't even a web development company. The majority of web development projects that you see, they're handled by a web development agency or a web development company agency that works with an advertising company, a marketing company, a public relations company, a risk management company. I don't know that. And risk management companies, some of the biggest risk management companies are insurance companies, right? This is what you guys come here for, right? Because the area going to give you all kind of random stuff you never thought about and how the dots connect. It's all connected. It's all connected. Why do you think one of my favorite DC characters is the Question? For those who don't know, they know. For those who do know, I don't know. I just totally messed that up. Point is, that's what happens when you're not a comedian. Try to come up with a joke on the fly, right? If I'm a web development company and I'm getting all my work from this huge conglomerate risk management, huge conglomerate insurance, huge conglomerate marketing or advertising agency, why am I trying to compete with them if I'm a small guy, working down the street? No. That's the error. Here's the advantage. You know that area better than they do. That area, the area that you're in. Some of the best advice I've ever, I didn't receive it directly. I heard it during a webinar, but it was to everybody who, it was a seminar. It was a guy, I forget what area specifically of like promotional items he sold, but he made the best statement ever when it comes down to a small business that needs to dominate an area. And he said that specifically. Why are you so focused on the country, the state, the county, when you haven't even tried to dominate your neighborhood? Now, I will throw this at you. Or we'll be fair with you. We were in a very well-populated city, right? So your neighborhood, your community could be pretty large. You get a couple 100,000 people easily within, just a portion of the city, not even the whole city. But what he brought up was a better point. Overall, was a better point. Was why are you worried about the entire country? Oh, I want to have my business all over. You can't even get 100 clients in your neighborhood. If you are a small developer, why are you worried about a company that is looking at it from, they're worried about having maybe hundreds of thousands of clients per year. You only need 10. You only need maybe, depending on what you're doing, you only need 25. You only need 50 new clients a year. Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking about selling clothes. I'm not talking about selling like cans of soda, energy drinks, something like that. I'm talking about a web development project. A web development project, properly priced, if you charge, let's just say you charge, I'm just throwing it out there, let's say you charge $10,000 per web development project, and you do 50 of them in a year. 50 in a year. Okay, you're saying that's not enough. So you mean to tell me if you do 100 new web development projects in 1 year, you can't keep the lights on? You need hundreds of thousands of clients? It sounds like your pricing's off, brother or sister, whoever wrote this question. But that's my point. Focus on what you need. Don't worry about competing with these guys. When my first business plan, when I first started, the first thing I looked at was that exact same question. Talk about stressing yourself out. I'm looking at what the number one company was at the time. They're not the number one company anymore. But the number one company at the time was for specifically, and that this is what really made me think different. And unfortunately, it wasn't like for another 5 or 6 years to where I actually let it sink in and I actually saw this presentation. That's what helped it sink in. But I looked at the numbers. That the number one digital marketing agency. Now, here's the funny part about this, and this is where I messed up big time. I'm gonna go full disclosure. How am I gonna give advice or answer questions? I'm not gonna be, honest. Digital marketing wasn't a buzzword at the time. This is my point about branding. I could have really, but instead of wanting to compete, I could have really branded myself and been light years ahead. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have been speaking over people's heads. But Can you imagine if you went back to my articles right, or not even went back to my articles? You pull up some of them articles right now. You pull up that blog right now. You pull up that old website right now. You know what kind of you know what kind of traffic. You know what the value of my website would be if I kept that going. I dropped digital marketing. I went to internet marketing. Internet marketing. The reason why digital marketing would have been a better phrase because I would have had a. Now a lot of people say digital marketing, but at that time a lot of people didn't. Not even the number one agency. But I'm looking at them thinking, I got to do that. Why? Who cares about them? Seriously, I shouldn't care about them. They have $100 million budget. I'm barely putting $100 a month in this mug. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm just starting out. I'm right out of college. Doesn't make any sense. I was talking about branding way before people talk. The way people talk about branding now is horrible. Horrible. They'll throw the word brand on anything because they don't understand what a brand is. When I was first mentioning branding, no one was talking about branding. It was like a branding agency because smaller businesses weren't thinking about that. But as I mentioned, a small business, right, has the best opportunity to brand itself and control its brand than any other. It's actually always been that way. But now because so many tools are here at your disposal for free, it's easy to do it. So, as a small developer, what can you do? How can you compete with these big? You're not competing with them. That's the first thing. Get that out of your mind. What you need to understand is, because remember, like I said, I keep in mind that seminar. I understand I was in a pretty big city and it had a lot of small businesses, so it was easy to say, hey, you could dominate a neighborhood and run a business and be very successful. But that goes to one of the critical factors of picking where your business is going to be located. Why are you? Just being fair. Why are you in a city or town, a county, a state, a country? Now you're a web developer, so it's a little different. But why are you in a place that? Oh, let me make sure so everybody can see which question I'm answering this time. I want to make sure of this too. Why are you in a place where this one? Why are you in a place where there's only the big boys, only the big guns, only the big names? Why not focus on a neighborhood, a community, a city, a town, a county, a country, state, whatever it is, province, where, okay, there are major competitors, but they're not these huge billion-dollar conglomerates. Where's your target audience? It goes back to what I was just talking about, value. Where's your target audience? And that's the second stage. So first off, okay, if I'm going to compete in this area, because this area has a decent amount, potentially, of potential customers, those potential customers, are they going to be long-term customers? Are they going to be valuable customers? Are they going to be fly-by-night kind of customers? What are they going to be? Most likely. Because you're a web developer. Do people need apps for the companies that are around here? Okay, I took business from one developer who kept pushing this small mom and pop business to get an app. Now, do you know why I said I took the business from him? Because I didn't approach him about my business. You know what I did? I was a customer. I was a customer of that mom and pop shop. It was a cafe, and it's like just talking, chit chatting as I normally do. I say, man, we talking. I'm like, y'all have a website? That's interesting. I wasn't even asking about me. I'm just saying that's kind of interesting, website, because I had just built a website for a cafe that's just a few blocks away. And they were like, yeah, but this guy was telling us about an app and everything. I said, an app? I said, like a mobile app. It's like, yeah, a website and an app and this. I was like, you don't need all that. I literally said that. I was like, you don't need all that. He's like, I know we don't need all that. He's like, but I did want us to have a website. Okay, well, this is kind of the things you need to do. This is what I've done over here, blah, blah, blah. Boom. I bring that up because you got to know your audience. And that could be what it's coming down to. You just don't know that audience. If you're a web developer, do the people around you need a website? I say every business owner should have a website. Do you need a $50,000 website? Fudge, no. And if you go out there trying to build a website for somebody for I should say, if you go out there building a website that you would charge $50,000 for, but you do it for $200, $300, $500, $1,000, even $10,000, that's your fault. Every small business, every business needs a website. I 100% believe in that. You will never get me to waver on that one. Oh, Aaron, there's Instagram. Do they own Instagram? Well, they get more clients on TikTok. You're right. That's why it's called a marketing channel. Do they own TikTok? Because apparently, in some cases, at some point, sometime, potentially, TikTok might not even be available in the U.S. Should they get a TikTok now? Well, there's Pinterest. Yes, there's Pinterest too. That's a search engine. That's great. Should they only count on Pinterest? No. Everybody should have their own website. You could charge $1,000. You could charge $20. I don't care. My point is, they should have a website. That's already opening that door for you as a web developer, if that's your first statement. Now, the next statement should be, well, the people around me, I think every business should have a website. Let's just say if you're focusing on business owners, because maybe you're not. Maybe you should. Are you focusing on B2C, B2B? I'll give you a great example. And I wish, I don't have it. Okay. If I had his card, I would go to his website and pull it up. There is a web designer who only builds websites for business coaches, influencers. If you come to him and you say basically basic thing like this, let's say he didn't build his website, but just give an example of a very famous name, Tony Robbins, right? Or what's another big guru like that? Well, not so much because Gary Vee would be the opposite. That's my point. I can't think of another one. But the point is, Tony Robbins, right? He would build a website for Tony Robbins. But Tony Robbins, if Tony Robbins has companies and stuff like that, he wouldn't do that. Because he only focuses on a website that's the individual. Kind of like a portfolio website, right? That's his niche. Now, his location doesn't really matter as much in that case. But his network is his location, basically. And his network is to constantly be with consultants, advisors, coaches, therapists. He would do it for a therapist. And that's a smart way of doing it. So who is your niche? Who is your target audience? Because maybe that target audience is in that location, but it's not necessarily because of the location, if that makes sense. So maybe your target audience are therapists, maybe your target audience are cafes, maybe your target audience is pharmacies, or maybe your target audience are mechanics. But once again, you know that area when it's a geographic thing. You know that area better than anybody else. So maybe you find out, hey, you know what? Everybody around here got a foreign car. Maybe I should focus on websites for mechanics or car dealerships that only deal with foreign cars. That's a niche. And once again, I keep using your geography or your specific location because that is something those big companies typically mess up the most. Oh yeah, we know that area. You know what they'll do? They'll go find a consultant and a contractor in that area who knows that area, because they don't know it themselves. You know how I know? Because they've tried to hire me before to do that. Anyway, so that's how you compete with the big boys. First off, don't worry about competing with large firms. No. Focus on knowing your demographics in your location. Who are the ones who are providing the best services in that area? I've taken business from other designers. I've taken business from freelancers. I've taken business from other people because they didn't know that area. I ain't gonna talk about that, but I've taken business. I was like, there was one person I was like, and That person was really upset because the person they had spoken to right before me, like maybe a day actually, maybe a day or two, that person was like, this guy didn't know anything about the neighborhood that I was in. And I knew the neighborhood because I had gone to that neighborhood before when I traveled to New York. I knew that neighborhood. So I was like, I know that place, I know that area, I know what you need to do, I know what you know. Well, call me. Holla at your boy. Anywho, what's the role of SEO in professional web development services? It's critical. Sorry. Wait, what the? Critical. Um. Okay, so now everybody's doing it, but I'll say it like this: if you can support complementing those services. What the, wait, hold on, I gotta figure out how I just put that together. I don't know. If you can support adding those complementary services, additional services, if you can support doing that at an effective expert level, then do it. If you're in a web development business and web development company, but you don't know jack squat about SEO, don't do it. Don't do it. Seriously, don't do it for the extra money, because people do that kind of stuff. I used to use this scenario where it was a mechanic that rented trucks for moving, thinking it would be good business, but it wasn't. Why? Because the mechanic had to work on the trucks too. So you know what they did? They instead rented space to the local moving company. So they made money out of their their parking lot. They would let them work on trucks. They would let them park their moving trucks in there and rent that space out. They also had a contract with the moving company. So the guy sold his trucks to the moving company, let the moving company lease the space in his parking lot to park there, and he gave him a deal to work on the trucks. So he was getting money from every which way and got out of that business. He turned two bad investments, which was two moving trucks, sold them off. Same thing here. If SEO isn't what you do, find an SEO person, find an SEO agency, and say, you know what, I'm going to send business your way. Maybe give me a commission. Maybe give me a little kickback. Maybe I give you one referral, you owe me one referral. We could do something like that. But the point is, do not get involved in a business that you're not prepared to support at a professional level. It's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. So it's critical for a web development company. But either you offer the service yourself, or you, I was about to say export. You well, not even outsource. 'Cause that's not really outsource. You refer the business. You recommend a professional in the field. Okay, those are the 3 questions. Hope that helped everyone, actually, not just the people who asked questions. Hope that helped everyone. But now, this is the article I want to get to. So first, you know what? I'm gonna go to the article first. Let me pull this baby up, because this is a lot of people. I mean, people have been talking about this for a hot minute. They've been talking about this one for a hot minute, and I admit, I can understand. It's been, it's an important statement, or not a statement. It's an important stance. But this is the kind of stuff that burns my biscuits. All right. My kid is never going, or never gonna. My kid is never gonna grow up being smarter than AI. Sam Altman. Now this is older, but it keeps coming back up every time every time there's a new update about AI, agentic AI, or the new ChatGPT 5, or there's a change in exec. For some reason, this one keeps coming back up, or this one keeps coming up. Okay. Sam Altman, of course, one of the founders, former, current, because he lost, they fired him, they brought him back, CEO of OpenAI, made this statement. This is where I first heard about this, was in this LinkedIn post. And then, like I said, it just keeps coming back up. It came up again just a couple days ago. This is, and I love the way she put it. This is why I go to her article. Now she's a global advisor, and it's a couple people, I follow and I connect with on LinkedIn. Didn't have the privilege of connecting or following her. This came up because someone else I follow who on LinkedIn who talks about AI quite often. It's actually going to be a guest on our podcast. He follows her, and this article popped up. As someone who spent over a decade building AI technology, I can tell you this is precisely the kind of thinking that could lead to the biggest crisis in human cognitive development. It's true. As a person in this situation myself, I don't want to be too critical of Sam Altman here, but I must call this out. He doesn't have kids. Like I said, same thing. I don't have children. From the perspective of someone who doesn't have children, you don't see the ramifications. I shouldn't say ramifications. You may not, if you're not willing to think that far, and this is why I'm bringing this up. You may not understand the true impact, the negative impact of saying something like this. Now, one of the saddest parts. This is why we started the publication. I'm going to bring up the publication at the end of this because we had a live event where we made Medium Publications. The publication's Everything is Marketing. Does he truly believe this? Maybe. Not only does he not understand how frightening that is as a parent, but as a person who has some understanding of foresight, right? Just of looking into the future a little bit. Or not necessarily looking into the future, thinking about the future, contemplating the future. Because what this means is you're either saying that AI at some point, artificial intelligence, will truly be artificial intelligence. Will truly be able to form, because remember, everything we have right now are just either large language models. In other words, they're not thinking on their own. None of these machines are thinking on their own. They're not coming up with thoughts. Oh, I can write a story like this. Not because of what influenced it, just because I can write a story like this, right? It's not doing that just yet. So it's either he's at some point saying it's definitely going to be that way, and it's going to be able to outthink, outdo, outimagine any human. Because then it'll also have all the information that's currently available to pull in and do it as well. Or he's like, hey, this is just a really great way to stay in the press. And that's the scary part. That's the other scary part, right? Because the first part is pretty scary. To simply think that this statement, and that's why I hate to say it, but I believe there's a level of marketing to it. When you make statements like this in the position he's in, not only is it going to get people talking, this post that this young lady made was 6 months ago from today. 6 months ago. This same article came up in multiple conversations just this past week. And it will not die. It's going to, like I said, every time there's a new update, every time there's new something, this pops up about AI, it comes back to this. So going a little farther into our article, and I'm not trying to, I'm going to put a link. I prefer you guys read the whole article, not, I want to make sure you guys see the whole thing for yourself and not just me taking sound bites. I hate that kind of stuff. She brings up a really good point here. We're surrendering the very capabilities that define us as humans by giving it up to prompt engineering, and developing tools that we are perfectly comfortable with. These are my words at this point. To outdo us as being human, basically, right? Because one of the great things about your humanity is what? Your choices. It's kind of part of being human, right? Because other creatures from what we see don't have those choices. They need to eat, they go eat. They need to make, they go make. I'm kind of hungry. I'm going to wait. But you know what? I'm going to work on designing a car. I want to see what putting different chemicals together can do. That's all I'm doing as a chemist, right? I'm putting different chemicals together because I'm trying to identify an opportunity solution to something, or testing things out to see what I come up with. We're stripping away the humanity, stripping away the uniqueness and the beauty of humanity. Bring that up just as we think, or as we use these AI tools more and more. It's easy to say, let's take a step back. As we use these AI tools, I'm not saying don't innovate. I'm not saying don't think, try to push us forward. And unfortunately, this is the exact opposite of what it means to. Being fair. This is what it means. Kind of the opposite of what it means to be a startup. What are the consequences? But not just what are the consequences of what I make, just the consequences of my statements. Because this is the kind of statement that I sadly don't feel, because I don't know these people and I don't speak to these people and I can't think for these people. I don't feel they understand the full consequences of their words. Once again, not being a parent, my kid is never. Not being a parent, it's easy to say, well, you know what? All these kids are going to be left behind by technology. Can you imagine if I made that statement in front of a group of parents that have kids in kindergarten or grade school? Your children will never be smarter than these machines I'm about to make. Keep that in mind. I'm about to make. So that's what I say. Marketing. Everything is marketing. And that's the article that popped up as soon as ChatGPT 5 came out. Boom! This article popped up again. This is 3 times. I can remember on 3 occasions. And I'm not talking about like popped up. Well, yeah, Aaron, it popped up in your feed on LinkedIn or something. No. I'm talking about LinkedIn. I'm talking about Business Insider. I'm talking about people talking about MSNBC. All that stuff. It's just one of those things. Like if it pops up in the news, that's going to happen. Now, the next article. For all my techies. I'm not saying turkeys, I'm saying techies. Sorry, my techies. 2 months ago, Bill Gates lists 3 jobs safe from AI, and they pay very well. Now, keep in mind, Microsoft is one of those companies that have had quite possibly the most layoffs. Yeah, when it comes to tech jobs. So, where'd it go? I'm sorry, I passed by things. Okay, so, Mr. Gates. Look at this. Programmers who earn 99 plus a year will still be needed as we continue to introduce AI in the workplace. Okay. Now, the reason why I bring this one up is because Microsoft had another round of layoffs, right, recently. This is right before that round of layoffs. Big layoffs, right? Big number of layoffs. But also I'm bringing this up because earlier this year, remember, it was a big push by 2 big companies. It was, one huge company, Meta, and another company, significant tech company, technically, if you will, Spotify. And they mentioned how, like, so many of the jobs are going to be done by, they're already rolling out more and more jobs being done by AI. And I thought about this when, going around and looking at projects and looking for different gigs and work and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought about this. this is going to be really rough for anybody with no experience. And that made me think about this article that I saw a while back. Because the jobs he's saying, programmers who earn around, notice what it says, who earned around 99,000, right? A little shy of 100,000. That's not most beginning AI jobs, programming jobs. Entry level? No. But it did remind me also of what people, or it did remind me also of when people talk, or 2 years ago, before 2023, before a lot of us were using the majority of AI tools we're using now. I remember one of the first conversations I heard was about this. If you have the experience, the work will no longer be the work. It will be editing, refining, as he puts it, debug or advance, or not necessarily his exact quote. Sorry about that. And I've heard that more and more over the past year. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the concern is people who are just coming out of college, young professionals. Just be a bit closer to me. Young professionals. You need to get your experience where you can get your experience, right? Freelance your butt off. And I do mean this. It's kind of funny. I'm going to tie into one of those questions we just answered. But I want to make sure to. It's important to get this kind of sunk, or etched into your brain. The only reason why I get the projects I get, not because of college, damn sure not because of my past employers. Nowhere near because of them. I can go into a whole thing of why you should never count on your employers, the people who run your company if you're an employee, to help you advance in education, professional education, or anything. You need to focus on yourself. Freelance your butt off if you have a good job. Freelance your butt off. But freelance in areas where it's not just the areas you're strongest, the areas where you need to. So, for example, if you programming languages, right? Let's say you know C++. Let's say you know, basic SQL. You know HTML. You know Python. Okay, React. Okay. Liquid. Learn on a freelance side, right? Because maybe that's not your regular daily work, but to build up and beef up your portfolio for yourself. Because this stuff right here, if you're entry level, you're not going to be able to do that. You're not going to refine or debug or advance. They're going to hand that off to somebody who's a senior, someone who's been doing it for years, someone who knows to look at. Because AI is going to build the base code, which is going to be crappy. No offense. That's why you have QC. That's why you have QA. That's why you have all those things. So, what Gates is bringing up here is a really great point. It's just interesting. It's coming from the people, one of the companies that has pioneered in dropping tech professionals. Surprisingly. Now, the other one is the field of energy. As he says, provide analysis in field of energy. Right. Energy specialists. That's a global thing. Because we've already seen, depending upon whatever the political structure is in whatever country you may be, you may need to move. And you may need to understand what's going on around the world where countries are putting that investment or making that investment, significant investments, and looking for professionals. I'll give you a great example from one of the areas of professional experience I have, project management. There's a lot of jobs for project managers right now. I will be honest, there's a lot. Not all of them are getting filled, but there's a lot. Because there's a lot of competition. Do you know where there's a lot of project management jobs, but people don't look for them normally. Africa, the Middle East, Southeast Asia. I know two people, one from Brazil, another from the States, who they're like, hey, we kept looking for different areas. One person specifically only deals with project management and construction. That's all they know, which can limit you. That's what I'm saying. You got to go where the market is, but you got to get that freelance experience. So they went to the Middle East. They're from Brazil. They don't speak Arabic. They don't speak Farsi. They don't speak Persian. They don't speak anything. They know English and Portuguese, right? And they went to the Middle East. But they know construction, and they specifically know they have the certifications necessary. But the one that really got me was the guy I know from the United States. This is why I go to freelancing. He knew project management from, if you could say, generalist standpoint, right? Not specifically IT. But you know what he did? He freelanced, and he took positions. He took freelance positions, small contracts, 3 months, 2 months, working on Upwork, strictly on Upwork. I will give him that. He's strictly focused on Upwork. And he got the experience in IT project management, right? IT projects, from everything from web development, app development, CX, product design. And he also went to another country to help them do that full time. And this goes to what I'm looking at with what Bill Gates is talking about here, is that, yeah, these could be areas. Now, of course, I'm talking about energy is one of the industries he's talking about. I brought up project management as a kind of comparison. You need to freelance your tail off to get the experience in that field, because you know what? You notice what he says, energy specialists. How many people, from an education standpoint, are going to be are energy specialists? Not very many, right? You have to find that opportunity to where you can start building up that professional education. AI has yet to master skills of, or to assist biologists. Once again. Now, this is going to be a little harder to get, probably, off of Upwork, but you never know. Because if you have the basics, the entry level, and need to get that experience, and you can't find that, getting that entry level job, research assistant. Areas where you can do this remotely, maybe even do them in person, of course, but from a small, short-term contract basis to build up the experience. It's funny how this reminds me of the early 90s when temp agencies were really they were already blowing up. Let me take that back. I was about to say they were really blowing up. But people had gotten a lot of experience from temp agencies and were going back or sticking with temp agencies at this time. They were sticking with temp agencies at this time to build on that experience. Say that, okay, so I learned basic word processing. Good Lord, I'm showing you how old I am. Basic word processing. What about working with spreadsheets, building out databases, the basics of graphic design? Those little things I can start learning now, working on a temp job, right? As a short-term employee, as a contract employee, to beef up my resume, to build out those skills. Because just trying to find the entry-level work isn't going to happen anymore. Bring that up because just so many jobs have been lost recently. And this kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. You know, Microsoft went through another round of layoffs in the past few months, but this popped up. I was like, well, since we're talking about AI, this article talked about how AI is getting rid of so many jobs. But Bill Gates chimed back like, no, but these are 3 areas where we will still see significant job growth. Do I believe him? Do I not? Actually, I don't. I think there's still job growth and opportunity in a lot of areas, but it's really going to go back to the people with the experience, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because if I was a recent grad, I would be scared out of my freaking mind. And I think about that right now. The way my professional life right now is not based on anything I've done for another company. Only clients. only freelance work. And I was bold enough to start it, to be a freelancer, but also then to start an agency while working for other people. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to count on these jobs. You can't. So for those out there who just got out of, just graduated and they're looking for that entry-level job, that entry-level job needs to be you as a freelancer. That needs to be you as doing contract work. Jumping on Upwork, jumping on Fiverr, jumping on Freelancer, jumping on, well, not TaskRabbit necessarily, right? But getting on these platforms. Because the sad part is that for so long we people put their money and their time and their effort and their energy into corporations, and they saw, oh well, there's no, I'm not getting that back, and for a while, okay. Now we're starting to see companies invest in tech, and we're starting to see companies invest in even in fintech, right? Now those jobs no longer safe, but the fields that they didn't push enough people to go into, welding, working on bridges and whatnot. But here's the crazy part. That actually makes sense. You know why? Because those areas have not gotten the significant government investment that is deserved and that it needed to until recently, and then that changed again. So you really gotta look out for yourself in this one. So freelance, do contract work, run out there and just find every opportunity you can to keep yourself. I was gonna say marketable, but more so to make sure you keep your own food on your table and make sure you keep your own lights on. Don't worry about the job, man, because these jobs ain't worried about you. All right, I'm gonna end it because I got this other work to do, and I haven't. As you can see, it always happens. I say I'm gonna work on something. Well, it doesn't always happen because we actually did some pretty cool projects recently. But I'm gonna get to one more question because we have. We got quite a few website questions. Let me get to something that's not a website question. Let's not get to. Okay, let's see. My man Mason. I love it. I love it when the people drop their names. So Mason deserves. Mason, why do marketers care so much about landing pages? Mason. That's what I'm talking about. You know why they care? I know, right? I did all dramatic, right? I should have the lights dim and everything. Marketers care about. Mason's question once again is, why do marketers care so much about landing pages? I'll pull it up again so we can all enjoy the fun. Way to go. Okay. Right here. Yeah. Marketers care about landing pages. Because a landing page, Mason, a landing page gives marketers what we need the most. That data. That data. If you run an ad campaign and you're not capturing data, you're doing everything wrong. The best thing about a website, the website works when you are asleep, when you are not working. You could be asleep, you could be on vacation, you could be eating dinner. The website is still working. You should use that tool to its optimal performance, optimal opportunity, optimal. Capturing leads, making sales, marketing your brand, connecting with audiences 24/7. So a landing page, which could be anything. Okay, let's make sure that's clear. Let's just make sure that's clear. A landing page is just a page. It could be a page on a website with 1,000 pages. It could be it could be a page by itself. It could be a page within your email newsletter, which you've published as a website. I love those. I have them. Those are fun. Those are fun. This is why using MailChimp, using Constant Contact, using Substack, Beehive, a lot of those can be used as landing pages. And you can build landing pages with them, so it's easily, it works perfect integration with your website, or sorry, with your email marketing. So sorry, I say email marketing. But the data, it gives us so much data to see, why isn't this person converting? Why did this person not become a lead? Why didn't this? You can start getting all those pieces of information, pieces of data, to get to those, to answer those questions. You want a landing page. You need a landing page. I think I brought this up in a Q&A session. I think I brought this up in the Q&A session from a couple weeks ago. So basically like this. Let's say you're getting a lot of clicks and you're getting a lot of impressions, right? First off. And then you also get a lot of clicks, but no one's converting. That's usually an indication that your landing page is all jacked up. You could not have a clear call to action. One situation I'll bring up is one situation we found out the landing page was preventing people from becoming leads because it was a pop-up. This pop-up was all throughout the website, but they put it on the landing page too. So when people went to the website, the pop-up would come up before they even got to the contact form. They would fill out the pop-up, not the contact form. So one side of the business did well, while the other side of the business didn't. Because remember, the ad campaign was to get them to the contact form. So I was like, dude, this is why you're not getting the leads you're looking for. Landing pages tell you so much. Do not run an advertising campaign if you don't have a way to capture that data. That could be a Facebook form, that could be a LinkedIn form, that could be going to the MailChimp landing page where it goes automatically as part of the email marketing campaign. That could be going to the contact page on the website. Don't matter. You need to ensure that wherever they're going, you can capture that data. Beautiful question. Fantastic question. Mason, that's what I'm talking about. So we're in this. All right. So with that, Live at 5 is what I know. I love to come up with a little corny name for everything, but Live at 5 actually sounds kind of cool. Q&A. We keep it really light, keep it real simple, nothing super formal. Don't want to do all that because that's not the nuts and bolts we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to the nutshell of this business right here, right? So, number one, if you have a question, you can always drop it in the core. I have a link to the core spaces. I'm going to put it in there because some of y'all just like keep going in. That's all good. We're going to keep it rolling as long as it's rolling, as long as it's happening. It's making it happen. Let's do it. The link to the core space is in this description of this entry, if you will. Also, a link to those two articles. The one from the Bill Gates article that was on MSN, I believe, and the LinkedIn post. Now, that was a post based on the Sam Altman interview. Keep that in mind if you want to see the actual article. That's not the actual article, right? That's her. That's the young lady's take. And she's a AI. I wouldn't say AI enthusiast. She's more so like an AI, definitely not an evangelist. She's an AI advisor, but she's more so where she's, she works in the technology. She knows the technology, and she advises people on that technology, the ramifications of it, the possibilities of it, the impacts, negatives, positives, all that good stuff. So check her out. I do not know her. I do not follow her formally, but hey, it's a really good, take, and it's a really good perspective to read up on. We'd love to know. I always go back to these things. So drop your comments in this entry and let me know about the article, about either article, and your opinion on it. Also, there, like I said, there's a link to the core spaces. We're going to start doing the Q&A a little different, where we're going to drive you to a different place. Reason why is because it's easier for us to capture and make sure I'm answering all the questions in place. Because if you notice, that core gets backed up pretty fast if I don't get in there. So that could be taken so many ways of what I just said. I'm just thinking about that now. So there will be another opportunity for you to go in there and or another place. I'm sorry, in the future for you to drop questions. But if you're part of our Patreon, this is super live. You know what I'm saying? I look at your comments on the side. Look at your comments on the side. I look at them here, look at them there. If you're checking us out on YouTube, you are getting the aftermath, if you will. You're getting the recorded taking of that live. So some of the stuff may get edited out, which makes sense just to kind of keep it at a decent hour. It looks like so far. What this is probably going to wind up being, but yeah, drop your comments. Let me know what you think, and also if there's there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover in the future, more than happy to do so. You can drop it in Core Spaces. Hopefully, I get to see your question. Leave your name, like Mason. Our man Mason at the end of the day, he was really cool to drop his name. Let me know your name. Let me shout you out. Let me say what's up. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know my name. Why can't I know your name? To answer your question. Anywho, best you and yours. I've got 4 videos, as I mentioned, to edit, so I'm going to get to those. Normally, this is about 2 hours, but like I said, this is going to be chopped down to about an hour still, even with the editing. So we at least got to 4 good questions. We got to our articles. And make sure you subscribe to the Ambitious newsletter. I've got links also down there. Up there somewhere? No, we all know it's technically, if you're watching it, it should be down there somewhere, right? Anywho, best to you and yours. Thank you for stopping by. And yeah. Oh wait, I think I stole that from Rob. I can't do that because that's Rob from Comics Explains thing at the end. He would go, and yeah. I don't want to do it because it's bogus. That's his, and he's really great at it. Great voice, Rob. Love Comics Explained. I'm not getting paid nothing for saying that. I just love Comics Explained. It's an awesome channel. If you're a comic person, you should definitely, if you haven't watched it, you should definitely watch it. There's a couple other comics channels. Actually, I'm going to mention some of the comic channels I follow next time. Yes, because there's like 4 really good ones. Rob is one of the main ones, but yeah. Anyway, I was about to do it again. Best to yours. See you around. Live at 5. Right here on the YouTubes next Thursday. I had to think about that for a second. Next Thursday. Peace.